Right. Homer Simpson and Daniel Kahneman. Two people you wouldn't naturally put together, but hopefully the connection between them will become clear. All right. Here is, I know it's a dreadful sort of simple summary, but this, I believe, is the current model of marketing and market research, and it is a left brain, right brain metaphor for how people make decisions and therefore how marketing and market research work. And if you had to kind of, and because it's, you know, it's basically 50-50, some variation of that, emotional and rational. And basically, if you had to summarize it even further in a metaphor, it would be the fist of a brand proposition, the USP, wrapped in a velvet glove of emotion. So the velvet glove is there to lure us in, and then we can hit people with why our brand, or the brand we're working for, is better than the competitor's brand and persuade people to buy. Okay? All right. Then along comes Daniel Kahneman, whose claim to fame is the, kind of only non-economist to win the Nobel Prize for economics. He's a psychologist, and I think known, I'm sure, to everyone listening in. And basically, he says, well, look, there's a better metaphor for how people's brains work, how people make decisions. And he doesn't talk about marketing and market research, but, the implications hopefully will become clear. And he says it's basically that the brain is split system 1, system 2. So, as far as we can hear at the moment, well, okay, left brain, right brain, 1 and 2. But basically, so system 1, and it's 1 because it's the original human brain, the first developed bit of the brain, and it's the instinctive, intuitive, emotional brain. Anyone who's read Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, the whole of that book was really system 1. Thinking fast in Daniel Kahneman's book. Thinking slow, the other half of his book, is system 2. And this is the latter developed brain, and this is basically the cognitive, analytical, slow thinking part of our brain. And it's amazing, but here's the rub. If you split it into computing power, system 2, the clever bit, the thinky part of the brain, if you like, would be 50 bits of computing power, and basically the instinctive, intuitive, emotional bit of the brain, 11 million. 50 bits, 11 million. Basically, the way that we make decisions is so far away from this idea of 50-50 rational and emotional, and it to be almost an absolute, which is why I summarize it on the left on that slide. We think much less than we think we think. And if the technology collapses at this point and I can't share any more, that would be the thing that I hope would resonate, because I really, really believe we have overcooked, we've overthought how much consumers think about, what it is they're doing when they're shopping and buying and brands, and so much of it, nearly all of it, is a system 1, instinctive, intuitive, emotional kind of decision making. Right, now let's bring it into marketing, and what I'm going to kind of flick up on the screen are a few logos. And in your mind, or if you prefer to say it out loud, I don't know if you're sitting amongst colleagues, just what's the brand on the screen? Okay, Starbucks. The next one. Hopefully Coca-Cola appeared in your mind. And you don't even need to be an F1 fan to know Ferrari. What I wanted to put those up for is just I'm going to throw a few little research grenades in the next, sort of 14 minutes. The first one is that brand recall, much loved of most advertising testing, isn't the way that branding works. It's about brand recognition. Because branding basically is a system 1 activity. It's a color, it's a shape, it's a gestalt basically that we recognize in an instant and brings all of the associations that we have about that brand and all of the emotion that comes with that to mind. That's basically, it's brand recognition, not brand recall. And I am currently having a little debate with Procter & Gamble, who did point out that they've been doing it for 175 years and may not be changing it overnight. But, I said to them, look, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Can't help that. Anyway, So the summary. System 1, yeah, 11 million bits of power, and it's the fast, intuitive, metaphoric approach. It's the unconscious. And System 2, which is the slow, analytical, propositional, conscious mind. Now, before we go on, a good metaphor, because basically metaphors are System 1. The rider and the elephant, and the reason for my bizarre title, Changing Behavior, One Elephant at a Time. So in this metaphor, System 2 is the rider. System 1 is the elephant. Okay? The rider has this slight delusion, this perception that they are in charge of the elephant. And in market research and marketing, we have been talking to the rider, not least because the rider talks back to us, gives us answers to our questions. But the reality is, the elephant is going to go where the elephant damn well wants to go. The elephant is System 1, and the elephant is really in charge. And in terms of how we think about going about changing behavior, it's actually easier and more effective to think about building a path to seduce the elephant, if you like, to influence the elephant rather than talking to the rider, trying to persuade. And relating it to Dave's talk earlier on, basically I think our current model of marketing is a persuasion-based model, you know, and actually what we need to embrace is a seduction-based model. And that is very much the whole soft power notion. You know, it's about attraction and cooperation, not coercion and persuasion. Okay, anyway, hopefully that metaphor might stick. Now, what I want to do is I want to kind of apply it and show how I think we can make a contribution to not just market research but marketing. So if you've got a behavioral challenge, which pretty much the whole of marketing is, you know, what is it that you're trying to change? You have to understand the context, the environmental, social, and personal context, which I'm going to whiz through in a minute, and then use behavioral principles to build the brands that alter the context to produce the desired behavior, that basically build the path and influence the elephant and then make sure they work. You know, test, 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 test. Right. So this is our attempt, if you like, at a model of summarizing the whole of behavioral science, which is sort of pretty big, fascinating, but pretty big. And it's the three areas that I'm going to kind of illustrate, you know, the principles and how you might apply it. Environmental, which is the world of context. No decision is made out of context. It's framing and anchoring. Social, we're social animals and we copy. We are amazing at copying, and that's a big influence. And then personal, which is how we feel, pretty much dictates what we do. But let's start off with environmental. Nudge, great book on the subject. Rolls-Royce is a lovely example I came across. They still have car showrooms the world over, but apparently they really don't sell very many rollers from their car showrooms. They sell them at boat shows. Why boat shows? Well, because if you're looking at £10 million, dollars, euros worth of yacht, $500,000 on a car seems a bargain. I'll take two. And I know it seems so extreme, but that's kind of how it works. I mean, the example that we all know, probably much, much better, is restaurants and wine lists. You know, where there's always one super crazy price wine that Russian oligarchs might buy. But basically what it does is it's there to frame the expectations of what I'm likely to pay for wine in the store. Talking of wine, there was a lovely experiment where they basically played French music in an off-license, a wine shop for a week. Now, not very loud. Nobody interviewed on exit even noticed the music. But in that week, sales of French wine while French music was being played increased 5 to 1, yeah, versus the benchmark. The second week, they then changed it to German music, and again, no one noticed the music, and sales of German wines doubled. Now, two obvious things. One, the influence of the environment that we're not even aware of on sales. And secondly, of course, everything we know by association. And so at least for the UK, we associate wine significantly more with France than we do with Germany. That's how System 1 works. It's about pattern recognition. Okay. Now, oops, let's go back one. So a couple of brand examples. I wanted to sort of give you a couple of sort of brand examples of how they've really lent on particular kind of behavioral principles to succeed. And Nespresso has done the most genius job of framing what it's offering as a cafe coffee at home. So it's the machine, the color of it, the shape of it, the style of it, the smell of the coffee, the noise that the machine makes. George Clooney, I guess, you know, doesn't hurt it either. But the whole thing, the gestalt, in an instant makes us think that this is basically Starbucks at home. And because it is so much cheaper than, you know, buying Starbucks, the machine practically pays for itself. You know, it's so much cheaper, it's a bargain. In reality, it's competing with what we used to drink at home, which was, you know, kind of instant coffee of one sort or another. And Nespresso is basically a 500% premium to that. So remarkable bit of branding and really, I think, a lovely example of environmental framing. Okay, next one. This is one I came across from Australia. Dave will like this one. Tontine Pillows, who have put a date stamp, you know, best before on their pillows. And as soon as you see that or hear about it, you think, oh my God, you're right. I've got all these yellowing, nasty pillows at home. Obviously, maybe that's just me. But I don't know. I have a suspicion that that kind of works for all of us. To bring it closer in, if you like, in Shopper, just the number of, in this case, snacks that you put on the front of a pack will influence the number that people eat when they eat the pack. So the one on the left, people actually consumed less than when there was many on the right. So this world of environmental framing, priming, you know, anchoring. And when you think about market research, one very quick example, otherwise I'm going to run out of time completely, is design, packaging research, where basically if you put people under time pressure, you can ask the same questions we used to ask, but it will change the answer, because what you're doing is you're forcing people to answer system one and not allowing them to get all cognitive about it, which actually takes you further away from their shopping behavior. All right, social, the second area. Mark Earl's book, The Herd and I'll Have What She's Having, is great. I think Mark's in the session to come, actually, is always very good value. Now, we are social animals and we copy. Copying is one of the things we're best at, and in fact we copy blindly, and surely Crocs are proof positive that we copy blindly. This is a little academic experiment where basically it was an honesty box and people had to put money in for milk that they were taking. The only thing that changed was the poster behind the box. One week it was flowers, then eyes, flowers, eyes, etc. And you will see that in the weeks that we were being watched even by a poster, we were a lot more honest. We are social animals and we copy other people and we do the right thing. A couple of brand examples. So this is, I think, Red Bull, you know, must be the preeminent social kind of brand. It's built itself, almost sociable alertness, you could call it. They actually launched on campuses, because campuses are a bubble, and they could make it seem like Red Bull was everywhere. And obviously alcohol makes it social. They did all their stunts and events, and the product itself is revolting. You know, it failed every taste test ever. But when you shape it as a social brand, it's incredibly powerful. Amazon are probably the past masters of this. Everything about Amazon and the way it works, the lists, people who bought this also bought that, you might be interested in the other, is all about showing you what other people are doing, and it has the biggest influence on what we do. The iPod, the marketing genius of the iPod was the earbuds, the white earbuds, actually, because it made visible something that was largely invisible, you know, inside people's pockets. And a kind of one example, you know, in Shopper, if you took an offer and then you just added, you know, standard offer, you know, $1 off, €1 off, whatever, but then you added something like, and you're limited to 4 per person. Suddenly you'll find people taking an awful lot more than just what was on offer from from the offer. It's things like this that that change the rules. In terms of market research in social, the wisdom of crowds and predictive markets, where we never ask people about themselves, you just get people to effectively give you their gut feel of what other people will do, is proving an absolutely remarkably accurate and distinguishing way to do concept testing. Right, the third and last area, personal. Basically, this is the world of how you feel dictates what you do. Marmite would be a great example of this. Love it, hate it, just don't forget it. Marmite has built its whole proposition on that polarization to the point now where even other brands are called, Marmite brands. Excuse me. The IPA, the Institute of Practitioners of Advertising, have done some amazing work over the last 5 or 6 years. They did a report in 2008 which showed, and it shocked them, this was not what they were expecting, that pure emotional advertising, where there's really no information processing, no message, these are the best ads, is more effective and efficient than the classic approach to advertising, which basically is the fist of a proposition wrapped in a velvet glove of emotion, the combined. That's the model that drives pretty much all multinational advertising and pre-testing. And basically, they then have just published another report, which is even better, called The Long and the Short of It, which has shown that those same campaigns 3 years on are now twice as effective and efficient as the very best of the combined. Now, we've been doing an awful lot of work on this, but in essence, feel nothing, do nothing. Feel lots, buy more. And these are these sort of 5-star ads that make your brand famous. And they are all emotional. They are not within that classic model of advertising, which is engagement, message, and brand recall, like a golden triangle. It's just about make me feel something overwhelming, don't make me think, and basically the way it works is that if I feel good about your brand, then I ascribe all the things that I think that category is about to your brand. Good things are ascribed. So we've been involved with the 3 Mobile Pony, which is the UK's most popular ad this year, and also more recently the Guinness wheelchair basketball ad in the US. And so to Annalise's sort of point, should we get involved? We were very involved in both of those, directing, less voiceover in the case of Guinness, this music, which script, and I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's great to be involved in, in famous ads. Last one, hedonic bundling, just as a personal example in Shopper, where basically Pepsi had a classic promotion. It was $1. I think if you buy a soda and a packet of crisps chips together, you get $1 off. Take the same financial value and you reframe it as basically buy a soda and a packet of chips crisps together and you get the soda for free. It increases by 18% across America. Why? Because people think soda is worse for you than chips, and because it's free, it discounts the guilt. And on that note, I think we need Q&A. But anyway, I hope that was a whistle-stop tour through changing behavior one elephant at a time and a bit of behavioral science. Discuss.